There was like all these promotions back where they were giving away the free Alexas, I think, back. Sorry if I just spoke to anyone's listening, but we have at least...
No, you got to go, hey, Google.
Right.
Hey, Alexa.
Yeah. Drop me your SIN number. Whoa.
I think you're getting me confused with someone else.
She has spoken.
This time around, we're joined by Colin Ferris. We talk a bit about a few of his projects, where his music comes from, and his true feelings on Third Eye Blind. And of course, he lets us hear a few sweet tunes as well. So sit back, sip your poison, and enjoy the ride. I'm your host, Colin, and this is the Pagan Place Podcast.
For those listening, this is our third attempt at this due to some technical difficulties.
Third time's a charm. That's what I've always heard.
It better be.
It should be.
Off.
That'd be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're open to giving it a third go.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
It's
talking's
3 hours of your life that you're
talking's
sacrificing.
pretty easy. And, to me, this isn't, I guess, just like, oh, let's make sure I go and promote. Like, we go to school together now and met you that way, that it was like, oh,
Yeah.
sick. I'll just connect it easily. That it was like, this just sounds easy. This would be fun. This is technically my first podcast ever for anything. So there's, I guess it's not something I was hunting out before to make sure like I got on somewhere and was talking about my bands on these things. Like,
Yeah.
but no, this just all lined up and made sense. So I was like, absolutely.
Yeah. I like it when things just steer towards a point,
Yeah.
they just line up.
And I'm one of those, like, I don't know how to word it properly. It's I'm going to either say it backwards or properly. I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I can be insanely shy and not want to talk to people, but get me on the right thing and I will not shut up. It just
Right.
depends on what you get me on, I guess. And, yeah, this seems to be topics I could just riff about all day.
Excellent. Sweet.
Yeah.
And luckily some of this is probably still fresh in your mind from the last conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I went and had stuff to listen to because of the last conversation.
That's
I've
true.
Newly listened to the Beastie Boys now, found out what an 11-minute record of theirs sounds like, which is not what I expected it to sound like.
never
But
is.
also really fun that's like, if I even think of a Beastie Boys full length, like that's the only thing I have in my brain right now for that. So it's a pretty funny separation of the I guess like shouty hip hop you kind of know
Yeah,
them
it's
for,
not
and
what most people would have
the
in
rock
mind for
/
Beastie
hip hop,
Boys.
whatever they did, fight for your right type of stuff and all that other good jazz. Yeah, no, it's Sabotage. I mean, it's great. That was probably my favorite Beastie Boys song if I had one before. But I saw like even metal bands do covers of that, like Cancer Bats did a really good cover of Sabotage back in the day.
Sweet.
I think every now and then if you catch them on the right date and they're doing an encore, they'll probably still play it and like, oh, that song. It just hits really good live. I think no matter who's playing it. Like,
I think I saw them do that at the Panic Room.
Oh yeah,
And the Panic Room is on the west side.
right. Cancer Bats
played
sick.
there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a sick show. They played with Dead Quiet and can't remember who the third
Right.
band, the main opener was, or the
I've
first.
literally
opener,
missed them in St. John every single time they've came to St.
Oh,
John.
yeah?
There was, I can remember a time way back in the day they came with some other people. I think they were playing the Carleton Community Center. Like it was like 2008 or something. I'm
Crazy.
like super young, and it was a matter of like, there's a show. It's got to be this Friday. It's this Friday or something. And I think it was a Wednesday. So I'm like right amped for it all week. And I get to school that Thursday and friends of mine were finally like, where were you last night? I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And that was really upsetting.
That
But,
sucks.
when I finally did catch them, it was with A Sight for Sewn Eyes, who I've loved forever, as long as I've heard them. They're a really good, I hate to say local, but they're from Halifax. So they feel like, Maritime is local to me, at least in that sense.
Yeah,
they
I
feel
agree.
like they're close enough to a next door neighbor.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been around forever, and they really came on strong after maybe 2012. They had a release, and then another album after that just really started cementing them as like any top tier type of like metalcore kind of band out there. I think, you know, you wouldn't listen to it and think, oh, this is like a band from the Maritimes for sure. Like, no, they were so good. So to see them at that time in their lives, with Cancer Bats, yeah, that was pretty sick.
I don't think I've seen them.
Yeah, I think now
for Sonai's.
Now they might just go by Sonai's, but they're very far and few with their shows and activity. It's been pretty minimal. By the time they even put out the record that followed up, 2012's Alone Together, I think it was called Sonai's, and also kind of branched into maybe what was like the self-titled renaming. But I don't know that that's official. Maybe they still go by a site for Sonai's, but to look up this record, like it just says Sonai's. The band like page on Facebook changed to Sonai's. I was like, okay, something's maybe going on. And then whatever reasons probably came up that not much activity seemed to have happened after that.
Interesting.
There's some bands in the Halifax scene that I think are tight with them, that they'll kind of be able to pull them out of the whatever, you know, hidden little spot they're in, just to pull them out for a show here and there. And it's even been a minute since I've seen that. But it's pandemic has stopped a lot of things for you. So it's been a minute since I've seen a lot of stuff live right now.
Yeah, that's true. Pandemic did a lot. Did a number on a lot of things.
Yeah. No, those guys were OGs though. Like one of the first shows I was going to was at the Pavilion in Halifax. If you had ever been before, it like was shut down now. Yeah. It's like an old bomb shelter next to a skate park. Coolest all ages venue that the Maritimes ever had, in my humble opinion. And they were on like a compilation CD that I got to buy at one of these shows back in the day, just called like Sonic Revolution or something. And it was like one song by one different band for like 12 to 16 songs roughly.
Wicked.
That I'm so young, I don't really understand that this is just like a CD compilation of all local bands. I just would throw it in my CD player and like listen to it and jam out. And now I get older and I'm like, it's hilarious. I wonder how many of these people have like maybe randomly met or crossed paths with.
Probably quite a few.
Yeah. But at least two bands on that CD have like had a heavy influence on me growing up, of just, I can still look back and be like, these are some of the best bands I ever saw. Cypher So Nice and Risky Business was the other one. Really great punk band. Another one that does great short songs, but
like I've seen Risky Business.
They had some incredible energy around them that was just very like, it felt positive, but at the same time it was like, you know, don't be a dick or get the hell out of our way. But in the most positive way you can like bring, if somehow, I don't know, it was just great. Very infamously, my favorite lyric and shouting thing of theirs is just going, risky business, that's us. And it's like, that's awesome. Gang stuff, man. You just want to shout it with them so hard because it's not just them, it's us, it's everyone. Like it's stuff that just sank with me so hard at a young age. It was, fun to grow up with and now look back at. But anyway.
Some of my favorite albums growing up were compilations.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I didn't realize that a lot of labels would put them out. And, you know, by label standards, they should have cost you like $4 for this cassette or CD or however it came.
Right.
But then by the time it got to the record store, they would charge you full price for it. But a lot of like punk labels and stuff like that, and I'd get like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
from
like
Seattle
summer samplers, whatever they want to call them, you know.
Go-Kart Records was like a fun one I got every year for like 4 years or something like that. Sick. It was like, not really, they were a punk label, not really pop punk, but they were a little more, most of their bands were a little more leaning towards pop punk. But some of their shit was awesome.
Yeah, like, that's awesome.
It just it's like I can still sing those songs. Like, used to listen to them so much.
Right. Yeah, and just engraved somewhere that, you know, that scar can't even get healed over. Can't ever forget some of these things.
Saw Botfly. I think No Funeral had.
Yeah.
No Funeral.
I mean, they're like friends of mine now at this point. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Just played with them at, like Paris Crew had that one show in St. John, right? So Butcher was my punk band that we opened for them.
Sweet. I missed that show. I wish I got to go.
Yeah, it was cool just because of putting it in an art, I almost said museum, but it's not an art exhibition place, an art exhibit
gallery.
At an art gallery. That's probably a better word for some reason I couldn't think of. And it was great, but because you're at a Botfly show, you know, you kind of want to move and you want to do stuff, but it's like, damn, you can't bump against that wall, man. There's like stuff on that wall that really costs money. And
yeah, it was an interesting concept. Like when I saw that it was going on there, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me want to go all the more.
Right.
In a way,
that's
you know?
very St. John, and in the quality block aspect of, you know, that first one that was able to capture a very interesting concept of that we're going to put shows in places that don't usually host shows.
Right.
So now all of a sudden this place that meant, maybe, I don't want to say nothing so harshly, but maybe a place that meant nothing to you now just hosts such an important or whatever special, unique type of memory.
Yeah.
That they just wanted to create moments like that for people, I guess, for however special that would be for you for the rest of your lives. And that show kind of did that for me in a way. So that was great. Shout out Amelia Bailey for doing that for everybody. 'Cause yeah, even if that building changes for whatever else it is, like that'll just always be the place where this botfly show happened. And
Yeah, that's
watching
fair.
him smash his headstock against the hardwood floor, being like, "That's gonna scratch," but it was like so sick. I loved it. Like, it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I haven't seen them since pre-COVID now.
yeah. I mean, funny enough, back in the day, I had a tape of theirs. It's probably just an EP or something, but I knew a guy. But I think he put out their first, one of their first tapes, maybe. Yeah, I just traded stuff with him back in the day because we were both making tapes. It was something I ventured
Sweet.
into for a small time, and still probably could and would, but I am not good with prioritizing my time towards it the same way. Like,
I invested in like a bunch of stuff to make tapes.
right.
A friend of mine, we're going to start with just one of his albums,
Yeah.
and then do a double side of another project we're going to do together.
Right.
And so I have like this crazy backstock of tapes, which
Yeah.
I will get to using.
Yeah.
I just got them on sale because I bought a big bulk batch of them,
Right.
like 50 of them or something like that.
Fair.
And I was like, I was excited, and then it's kind of, you know who you are, get on it.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been kind of slack about getting me the appropriate stuff to dub off onto tapes. But
Right. Fair.
like, you know, the really high. So I don't want to use the version I have of the album. Like, I want the, you know, at least a weight
Right.
version. I can
Yeah,
get the
yeah.
highest quality off a cassette because they.
That's understandable for sure.
degrade,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, of course. part of that beauty I loved. I think like that's why I started making tapes before, is I really loved how they sounded. The first time I heard like a record I was really familiar with its like guitar work, mostly like clean guitar focused, and it had that, if you will, like underwater type of sound to the clean tones, maybe in a weird way, but it's like the tape saturation type of whatever's going on. There's these like highs that just can't ever possibly sound the same way because of what this certain grade of tape was. Yeah. Mind you, there's a lot of newer probably tapes, whatever they are, just better quality tapes out there nowadays that you hit play and it sounds just like you're listening to like Spotify or something almost like. And to me, I mean that there's just, I love that warmth. I love that weird, like it sounds like it's like fucking the music up almost.
It reminds me of like a tube amp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's like, yeah,
it's different, but
it's pushing that.
It's just a warmth that's
definitely
there that you can't really explain it, but you can hear it. Like you can pick it out.
And so a really, a good tip I can give to people if you have this easy accessibility, because to me it sounded so good, and maybe you'll hate it and think I'm crazy, but you hit play on a tape, you hear a lot of hiss. Usually the first thing, right, is that hiss coming through. I was making like phone recordings, just jams I had with bands. We're trying to hear songs, do this or whatever, specifically with a lot of early Sheik stuff. We would record it. It's kind of hard to hear the quality. I would take the phone recording and just dub it onto a blank tape I had, just with whatever, if you have any type of tape deck that you can just record quickly, whatever, you know. It sounded so much better because all of a sudden you're getting to hear this phone recording technically through an analog source, that it used its whatever type of weird compression and this and that magic, and the natural hissing that sounds like shit inside of your phone recording somehow gets like buried into that natural tape hiss that isn't as bad to hear. But all of a sudden I could hear like the bass nicer when you can't really off just a regular phone recording. I became addicted to doing this. Like the second we were done a jam, because I always phone record jams, period, anyway. If it's like, in case something comes up that you're like, what was that? We can't forget that. It's like, don't worry, I got a copy of it somewhere. Right. If you just want to hear how a set flowed, just even like separating yourself from the music, when you can be a listener, not a, you know. Participant. Yeah. Nice. Thank you. When you can separate yourself that way, I find it just much easier to hear things that either are or aren't enjoyable, maybe better ideas or things that just didn't really work out like that. I became so addicted to it. It was a really, really fun way to just listen to jams in general. It's a fun way to take it in. Worth trying if you have those tools and capabilities.
We used to have a digital 4-track when I would jam with a couple buddies of mine. I would just pop that in the corner of the room, and then so we'd always have like at least a digital copy of everything. But there was somebody, and I can't remember who. I wish I knew what context to place this in. It might have been and I really should know his name, the last engineer / producer of Elliott Smith's last album, I think, from The Basement on the Hill.
I'm only familiar with, I think, whatever his first record is, I've checked out. Okay. I think. It's the one before XO. Why can't I forget its name right now?
And I could be mistaken. Actually, I'm not even going to look up his name or give his name because I could very well be mistaken on who it is. But for some reason, I think I read that in his biography. Right. They would record, and by that point, they were obviously moving away from the analog stuff. Yeah. But he would, when he did his final copies, Elliott Smith wanted the sound of a cassette reel recorded and incorporated into the albums, or into that album. So it's not as though it is actually on, so you probably won't get that same effect, but there was something about the sound of a reel to reel that he loved, and he just got used to, because he always used to record on cassettes himself back in the day, and he really wanted that incorporated into his albums. So he would just record the sound of a reel to reel and then have that mixed into, I want to say it was Basement on the Hill. You can notice it, but you can't notice it at the same time. It's probably something that's only really audible in like silence, I guess, in the record. Per se. So I don't know if it's because he noticed a warmth that you were talking about, maybe, or if it was just the tape sound that he wanted or something, but it leads me to believe you might be onto something though. It was when the vinyl resurgence was really happening, and I was like, vinyl is expensive to me right now because I just didn't have as good of a paying job at the time. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I just couldn't afford it because it's only gotten more expensive now than it was then. I wish I could just keep buying records back in those years when I first started.
which wasn't that long ago. I sound like I'm really dating myself, but it was like 2015 maybe when I started buying vinyl, I guess. But got into tapes maybe just a year before that. And yeah, it's hard to pinpoint it past everything else I've already said, I guess, about it. That I guess that was just for some reason my preferred version of analog.
Yeah.
And then you can also get it insanely cheap. You can make it easier than a CD, quicker than a CD.
Oddly enough,
you can pass me a tape. I can throw it at your wall and go put it in the player, and I'm not scared, truth be told.
Yeah.
But for both other formats of CD and analog, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
CDs can probably withhold a throw to a point, but once you get that bottom side scratched, man, it's like,
yeah, that's true.
it's over.
There's that resilience.
So I don't know. Yeah, I will always stand up for tapes. They deserve it.
There is this particular novelty. I don't have any affinity to CDs. Like if I buy a CD, it's because I'm watching this band live and I want to buy a physical, because I like to buy a physical medium if I'm seeing a band live and have it.
Yeah.
And if all they have is a CD, I'll buy a CD.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it in a car. That's probably the only time I'll ever use it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'll just sit in a collection of, and even now I've since gotten rid of most of my CDs except for ones I picked up at shows.
Yeah, fair.
Because I have no real affinity for it. But a cassette, even though I don't listen to them very often, I don't even use them that often, really. But I like having them far more than CDs.
I mean, yeah, with physical media, I've kind of realized even a while ago that I'm probably more of a collector than a user for sure.
Yeah.
But that's even just being in apartments in certain ways. For myself, I've never set up a very good, appropriate space to just, here's a little table. I can always keep the record player on and nothing else. And I can keep a tape deck near it and a couple nice pair of speakers. Like, anyway, I guess I don't really listen to music very much off of ours. I think we want to get a better speaker for that, but that's even, we're two musicians in an apartment, and that's been our conversation, is we're probably going to get like a nice Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Like,
and some of them are really good. Like, they sound great.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Bose. Whatever, like growing up with my parents, mom was an Air Miles freak in the best way. So every like Christmas after stuff's been built up, she'd look at either me or dad and be like, oh, we'll just get you some like Bose speakers for the computer or something like that. Just little like desk ones. And that's like still what we use at the house, right? That's what we trade off back and forth. So
sweet.
Shout out mom for that. That was a great Christmas gift like 10 years ago or something.
Something with a little versatility in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want anything to have to be the focus, because I don't think I listen to any one type of thing. Like the wheelhouse of music I listen to is all over.
Yeah.
From, maybe there's a really good band with really bad recordings to the total opposite, so.
Right.
I would, well-rounded just to be able to face everything I might throw at it. Similar reasons. I've been doing like Sheik demos on my own and really hoping to just let someone else mix them versus attempting to mix them myself. Because even, we were starting to do them. We got like more interface, a better interface with like more channel inputs that we could like re-record the drums with more mics just to get a better sound on them. That I kind of had to like get like Lauren to come back. He's the drummer for Sheik, and like do same things again. And it sounded really nice the first time off of like what we only had so little of, kind of thing, that I was trying to like recreate something. And I was like struggling with it in ways that just became frustrating, I guess, sometimes. And it's not that it's the biggest deal to get frustrated, but I just realized I didn't enjoy getting frustrated over some of these things that I knew, like, if there was another person in the room, I could just be like focusing on this and making sure I get it right, versus like I'm trying to run back, record it, play this part myself, record it again, listen back to it as I'm taking the break and going, it's still not like it was before. Okay, go back, do this. Like I could have just the workflow would go nicer, and that would keep the morale higher, I think, which leads me to being frustrated much less.
It would. You're right.
Right. And then so, Lauren kind of at points it's just like, come on, like you got it, you can do it. And it's like, yeah, but kind of don't want to. Like, and that's sort of all of the difference sometimes. Like, I'd love to just be great at it already, but that's the same reason I've quit the majority of sports, when I was young, is I wasn't good at it right away.
Right.
That isn't a good reason to give up, but if you're not having fun, plus you feel like you're not good at it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you just you're not enjoying your time.
Yeah.
Why would you want to keep doing that intentionally? What are you gaining out of this?
Yeah.
You can learn some discipline maybe, but like, is that how you need to do it? Is that the necessary way?
Yeah, it's true.
Probably
It's
not.
there is that difference of, is there an end goal of not having fun with it right now? Like,
Right.
Like,
Will it serve
like
a greater
school,
purpose?
you know what I mean? Like,
Right,
is there an end goal of not enjoying my time
Right.
at this very moment?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep it. But if not, then if you're not having fun and there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel for some objective, then
Why wouldn't you stop?
exactly.
Go spend your time somewhere else. Go do something else. Figure out something else you probably like better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
Definitely. But to go back where you mentioned Sheik, just to talk a little bit about some of the projects you got here, because you have a few currently on the go.
Yeah.
So with Sheik, you said you're trying to work through some. You say demo, but is it a demo, or is it something you want to be like an EP, or?
It will be an EP by the time it gets released. Probably. I'm sure I'll release like a single or something first.
Yeah.
Maybe for fun, do like a cover for a B-side and then do like the actual EP release later.
Right.
So the last EP just kind of got released song by song. I released like 3 songs out of 4. And then by the time the EP was out, it was funny that I got Matt Carter to write for the article from Grid City. He always does a really good job at nailing stuff down and just having a good opinion, good thoughts on them. And he was the one who kind of made me realize myself that he was like, oh, this latest EP is like a collection of singles. I was like, well, no, there was only like one single in my mind. And it was I was like, no, we did keep like, you put out a song, then you put out another song by itself. That's a single, idiot. I didn't catch on to that part, even though I was doing it. Put out another song that it was like the radio station was doing a thing. I was like, yeah, we're going to release this one like for this. It can like, it's like, that's a single. And then I only had one left. So releasing the EP, Matt looked at it as releasing the last song, which was a single to him. And now it's just, here's a place where they were compiled. And it's like, no, they were always in this order. They were always this EP. I just was like slow about it, I guess.
Right.
So I'll be a little more maybe strategic and formal, I guess, about releasing.
But I think
the
that's
next one.
kind of a common method of releasing an EP now.
Yeah.
Like, especially since COVID, I feel a lot of people have done that for the EPs they put out, just like release it single by single by single. And then once they're on to their last track, boom, there's your EP release.
Yeah.
I
guess I want the release day itself to feel like more, not like you've heard 75% of it already before. Yeah. So I guess I want to make sure we stay conscious about having the release day feel separate from putting out a bunch of singles should we end up going that road.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it just depends. I think we have about 4 songs right now that we could. Trying to finish up one right now that it's pretty fun, pretty energetic song. Some of the other ones, one of the new ones is pretty upbeat, pretty fast, loud in ways too, which is just fun to do for a band that we're not shy to get like quiet, tame, and write a long song. Just listening to some of these bands with inspiration, and even something I think Lauren was tackling onto a bit is like some of these bands have fast songs. We gotta give her a little bit, and I don't think we've quite done that the full way that him and I have an idea and a vision of what that means. And though, yeah, like I said, we haven't done that yet, but that at least started to like steer me back towards getting a little bit faster, maybe than just like slow and ambient and trying to set that like, oh, you could just chill, like close your eyes and like float to this. Like I want to just
Right. Yeah.
part of having like a trancey vibe or whatever, if you will, can be a lot of like the driving just effects of the song itself that, to a point that's just maybe layering and having things feel like they're fighting each other, I guess, in a way, but working with each other while fighting.
Yeah.
Like, a good song in that. I like people to get lost and stuff, I guess, would be cool. And I don't think we've really tackled that like a lot. So kind of,
Interesting.
we'll see where it gets to. It would have to fall in line of getting a little bit repetitive, maybe sometimes in some ways, so you can feel a little bit lost, but also just having that like driving ability that you're still going to be at a rock show. So that's kind of, at least hopefully, the direction for some of these new songs. I'll be excited to get this next one finished.
Why is this so new to me? Something lost between the scene, but we're past the point of it. You cut me off. Well, anything to call our own. You turn your heart away from it. You wish you didn't know you were just
You're currently listening to the Pagan Place podcast. If you like what you hear, you can find us at anchor.fm/The Pagan Place, or stream each new episode wherever you get your podcasts.
How long have you been writing and performing with Sheik now?
With 2016, late 2016 was when we started.
Okay.
Like about September 2016 was our first show, roughly. We had the band in existence for, I guess, early 2016 too. Like maybe we were jamming very late 2015. Like I played bass in DFO, and that's where, like, if Lauren and I were ever jamming before, because he's the drummer for DFO too.
Right.
We would just bass and drum stuff. I wasn't playing guitar for any real reason. But then that's where we were like, no, we have an idea. We're going to start writing stuff. And, we really like toyed with the idea and had the ability to jam on stuff a little bit first, kind of play with some inspirations and see if it was something we'd even like enjoy. Eventually was introduced to like My Bloody Valentine and Shoegaze, got into like Slow Dive and these different other bands too, that I was like, damn, didn't even know you could make a guitar sound that way or anything else. Didn't know you could sing that way over stuff and people would enjoy it and buy it. Like, everything about it was so fascinating to me. So we started toying with it. I got to play with like computer simulation effects before buying real pedals. And then I bought a bunch of real pedals because the effects on the computer were really fun. Then we started doing it. I guess I think we more so hit the sound on the most recent EP that's out now. The first one, we got deemed by people as like a lo-fi band, but that's because I recorded the first one myself. Right. That's when I was really like testing that stuff out. That's why I recorded this like heavier one. And I hit a wall with that I just didn't know what to do more with at all. So I ended up sending it all to Corey. And that was the first time I really worked with Corey musically, is I got him to actually like mix and master the EP, which he saved. You guys hearing the released versions versus what I sent to him feels so night and day. Like, oh, really? I guess I should say I had versions that I tried to mix myself. And if I listen back to those, because I like not just the bare stems that I recorded, but what I thought, I didn't ever think it was good enough to release, but the wall that I hit, when I finally hit a point that I said, I can't make it sound better than this. I tried. This is the best I got after trying versus what he released. Anyway, the point of that, I guess, was that we sort of always had, I think, a vision to sound more like we do now off this newer release. Right. Which is probably just more shoegaze leaning than like a lo-fi psychedelic project or something.
So other than just Sheik, you have Butcher. Right. Yep.
Butcher involves currently back to 3-piece. Joe, who is our bassist, lives in Halifax. So we're not... Hiatus is a like very intentional kind of word. We're not trying to tell people we're on hiatus. We're just not able to be in the same room as frequently as we used to be. Right. So we're currently recording all the songs that we've had since pre-pandemic, because that's where we were at. It's just, writing these songs we were super happy with. Easily our strongest material yet. So far the demos in demo stage sound better than our previous recordings, like Sweet. By far, and that's with a biased opinion, but I guarantee it's correct. So I'm really excited for those to get out. It's probably my best drum work on record, and I think I've known since writing the songs it would be my best drum work on record, so I was really excited to try to get that out, because like Butcher's always been the kind of band that I can kind of just fuck around with in ways. Like it used to start with a bit of, if I was going too much, Cole was pretty good at like, Cole is the songwriter, and he'd kind of like, I thought I sort of heard this when I was writing it over my head. It's like, yeah, you're right, I'll do that. Versus they just, everyone pretty much just gets to do their own thing, usually. And I would, more times than not, write things outside of my skill set with the goal of, this is what I hear, so I need to get good enough to do that there. That's what the song's like calling for in the first place. And that was a really nice moment, kind of getting these songs down on drums, because I didn't think I was there yet with some of these like certain moments that I knew I wanted to be in songs, certain like just rolls that, maybe I can do a roll for a quick like 1, 2, 3, 4, but like turning that 4 into an 8 count, or like something, just a couple of different things. And maybe the timing's like more of a like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 type of, that it's like using your offhand more for stuff and things that I've only been drumming for so long. So I'm very novice at a lot of these things too. I just started with punk drumming so I can play fast more than I can play skillfully. So yeah, anyway, there was a certain way we were recording, like very noise canceling headphones that I couldn't hear myself very well. The drums sounded sort of weird to me, and it was forcing me, I think, to just like hit harder to make sure that the noise was coming through. Right. I was like, we finished a few takes. I was like, hey, let's listen to that one. I think I did it okay. And it was like the best I think I ever heard, like these rolls being done. I was like, oh my, is that what you guys heard too? And they're like, yeah. I was like, what? Sweet. Awesome. Like, no way. Did not think that. Just, yeah. Thank God for how much these noise canceling headphones were really canceling. Cause for loud music, it made me push myself louder than I guess I would have. Yeah. So anyway, really excited for that stuff to come out whenever it should come out. I just don't know how active we'll get to be once it is out. That'll just depend on however much everyone can get in the same room at the same time.
True that. Well, hopefully you can at least get a couple shows on the go.
Yeah. Oh, and with the right reason, I know Joe would travel down as long as he's free. It's all just work pending, things like that. And that's fair.
Life.
Right. Yeah.
Holding us down.
Basically, right. Let me just play music. Someone pay my bills for me.
Yeah.
So that's 2.
Then you have Dr. Mother Father.
Dr. Mother Father is the probably most active band I have right now, which is Corey's brainchild. And it's also releasing a full length, our first as a trio, in December. We have another single probably coming out. I don't know if we will this month, but maybe in November. Maybe one late this month too. Hard to say. Definitely one by November, and then the record will probably be out. We'll either have 2 or 3 songs out, I assume.
Sweet.
There's already the one, Wish You Didn't Know. And as long as this record's out, until the Butcher one gets out, this is my best drum work out, released. Because it was, joining his band was the one that really kind of pushed me into a different level, because we were just practicing more, and it was a different kind of style, I guess. Like just playing rock versus playing punk music. And I say both very loosely when I say that. Right. But one's allowed to be a little more sloppy and chaotic and messy and off time. And it just sort of, okay, well, that's how they sound. That's the thing. Yeah. Versus there was, a rock band needs to sound tight. Like it just, if you sound sloppy as a rock band, the songs don't always sound that good. Maybe that's your thing, but like that doesn't work for a lot of bands in that style. And I guess ours kind of does when I do start thinking about it more broad, I guess specifically, not broadly, but that the inspiration was to be like a garage rock band with kind of the punk touches that we all just know we come from, like louder roots. Right. So it's like, what would happen if a punk band tried to play like a Buddy Holly cover set? Like it probably wouldn't sound like Buddy Holly. It's probably going to be way louder, way more aggressive, but it's these like crusty dudes trying to sound pretty and polished that it's like, yeah, you know. And then we have Courtney, so that someone's actually at least nice, pretty, and polished in the band, you know. But no, she actually has like the best raspy voice of us all. Yeah. With like in reality, it could. But anyway, that's it. It's Corey's project with Corey's songs like that. We just we've been just trying to push the hell out of it with them, and it's been a lot of fun. It's like really good energy to be around. Really like hard worker, and it just kind of motivates you to be around that. You know. Yeah. We all have similar goals and desires, and it just kind of comes effortlessly in that way.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's been really nice.
It's kind of cool to hear that Dr. Mother Father, now that there's 3 people working on the writing as opposed to mostly Corey, and then you guys were brought in to help him tour it. Now you're actually a band, and that's cool. So that's 100% going to change the dynamic of the last album.
It does. I know anyone listening you'll hear it, I think, right out of the gate. Maybe not right out of the gate, because I'm thinking of what our intro song is, and it pays maybe some nice homage to how the last album sounded in a way. Yeah. But also, it shows you a pretty good shift, I think, going into it. I think it's Corey's best songwriting to date. I think it's definitely his best singing. Like vocally, he just got great. He's hitting some really nice melodies. He's like hitting some comfortable ranges. Sweet. That maybe he used to only do more just like punky styles in these ranges before, and now like he's really singing. Like we both love, Gavin and Corey loved their songwriting with Little You Little Me. We just would, I'll just say it exactly how I'm thinking it. It's easy to like Gavin's stuff, is how it feels like. Yeah. Because like Gavin just has a voice that he's like really melodic. He's nice, and Corey was just maybe more abrasive, but we loved that. Like, we would just really sit there and be like, sick, awesome. There's no one else like Corey in this city. Like, love this. There's no one else like Gavin either. Like, they're both great. And that's why Little You, Little Me has always been as great of a band as it was. But I've just always loved that style. And I guess kind of walked into this project knowing, oh, he's not going to be doing that as much. So It's like, okay, well, let's see what happens. Like, we were all kind of walking into something new in a way. So we just keep getting tighter and tighter as a unit, which is awesome.
Excited to hear that album like it's in entirety. It's going to be there's a cool experience.
Definitely. Some good East Coast feeling, almost maybe CBC worthy material kind of stuff on one side, and just some good old nice rock and roll on the other type of stuff. And
sweet.
Yeah, it's a good record. I'm pretty excited for it.
We talked a little bit one time, when I had him on the podcast, about how when he writes albums, he kind of bears in mind the concept of how to string them together for a record.
Yeah.
As opposed to a CD where a little more flexibility. You don't need to worry about run times the same way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see the flow of that.
In a way, I kind of pride myself on ordering 2. And he had a lot on his plate. So I got to help him with that to a point. He would get to have his final say. He would have, but he was doing all of the recording for all these songs that he wrote. It's the few spots of here's the riff. What do we do that we got to throw in our participation? We have our flavors and this and that on the record. But he eventually hit a point that he was like, I know I want this to be the start and end of side A, and I know I want this to be the start and end of side B.
Right.
And it's like, cool, I'll go with that, and just kind of started running and gave him an order that I was like, here's my first. I think this will kind of work. And I think he took a couple and was like, I'm going to move this here instead and maybe move that there instead. And then boom, here's the record.
Sweet.
It's like, sweet. So we're on the same page, at least that made sense.
Yeah. Right.
Corey's the kind of guy who's ready to do it all by himself. So he's, I think, in ways thankful that he's got a team that me and Courtney have both led our own bands before. So we at least have a bit of experience, if not empathy, towards a person who's in that position. And we understand how to maybe take some weight off.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that just makes it an easier working unit,
Oh, and it would too.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, it does.
Felt no fear for the first time in years. I am the one that you can't have tonight. My ears won't stop ringing. Thought of me alone, simply will not do. Tonight, I felt you once, I held you once, suppress my anxiety, my insecurities. It's new to me, as you can see. Thought of me alone, simply will not do.
So to get on your fourth, has that influenced, or any of that past stuff, and surely it has, influenced Cool Dudes Fighting?
Likely, yes. Because I guess that was, my most classic go-to is saying I needed a home for these songs. And I just didn't feel like I had one with the other projects. It didn't feel like they made sense with other stuff. But it was stuff that I liked and have listened to. No. And I think is maybe the closest representation of what I have almost always enjoyed listening to. Like when I was like 15 and really into like just skinny jeans and screamo music and Justin Bieber type of haircuts that I had. Yeah, some of these songs were still stuff that I would enjoy and listen to in these styles. And this has kind of held through despite all the new influences and different things that I don't enjoy my Justin Bieber haircut music anymore. But stuff that would have sounded like that back then, I know I still could enjoy today. So yeah, I've received a lot of really nice compliments about it. Probably more than I have towards Sheik, which is like totally okay. But that's been a very interesting to see in the sense that to me they felt kind of like throwaways. Like I just wanted to get them out so they weren't lost forever in a sense. But it's making me think of like that night market that happened really recently in St. John. Sadie played it. We were backing her. We were just looking around some of the vendors and there was a fella who had some paintings and pictures. And I'm flipping through it and I start getting towards the back and there was one that was really like dark, not quite eerie, but I don't know, something about it was like, I really loved it. It reminded me of like some Converge styled photos and pictures. Like Jake Bannon does a lot of his artwork for that band. I told him, I was like, I love this one. And he was like, really? That one? Like I was farther enough back in his book that he's like, the farther back it goes, like the less I like it. And we just got into this big, like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like he was like, wow, like, that's like a throwaway to me. And that's where I even have this term in my head that it's like, that's hilarious that like, your throwaway to me is the best thing you did. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder. These songs that I just, where Sheik is the thing that I'm like, man, I hope, people know and love me for that. That's the stuff that I'm like putting all this thought and like love and want into versus the other ones were like minute long songs, they needed like a line. So I put a line over it and called it a day and was like, this is all you need for a song. I'm done. Like it just felt like no thought, no effort, barely whatever. And so much more reception. I thought maybe like my friends would realize I put it out because I put it out and I knew I was going to get like Matt Carter to write about it, whatever. But like, no, that's the first time CBC's ever talked about me for any reason at all. And it was for my throwaway songs.
Yeah.
Like, what the, anyway.
But you're right though. Like it is in the eye of the beholder. It's interesting because the context of that getting recognized as what you thought was your throwaway probably means it's a little less of a throwaway than you thought it was.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And maybe like when you saw that guy's painting, you're like, this is the one. And the guy's like, that was a throwaway. It's food for thought for him.
Yeah,
like,
no, there was something there that someone could connect to.
Yeah,
for sure. And I call it a very broad type of thing now because, and you can like hate me for this, whoever hears this, anyone in the world, but to me now, my most recent like favorite emo band obsession, and I mean this so purely, is Third Eye Blind, self-titled, one of the best emo records I've heard in a long time. And it's, throwback. And I say that I'm new to it. I heard, what is it? Never Let You Go. It's like, oh, they do more than just Semi-Charm? Who knew? Cause I'm just ignorant like that, I guess, towards them. And then checked out self-titled and like, Losing a Whole Year starts the record. It's like, wow, this like feels like such a good song with COVID being out and all this stuff. It's like, yeah. Holy crap. But it's just a song about a breakup and all this stuff. Graduate was like the best guitar riff I heard in my life starting a song. I just got so into that record. But it's lyrics, like it's the delivery, it's the way you can deliver that stuff that I love. That now I want some thought and some imagery to the lyrics. It's almost ones that weren't supposed to feel like an emo lyric, but to me it just translates that way, which is why I've now deemed Third Eye Blind one of the best emo bands. I'm gonna have to go
revisit Third Eye Blind.
Yeah, he just is like, the lyrics are fantastic.
They were, I mean, I loved them back in the day. Like they were the shit. I remember when that album came out, I was fanatically, I wouldn't say fanatically, but a few of my friends and I would listen to it all the time.
Right on,
constantly.
Oh, I think it aged so well. And the conversation it led to with me and Lauren, like he's a big Jimmy Eat World fan. I've only ever heard like Bleed American for a record. And I do enjoy it, but I don't know it front to back super well, which leads me to understand I'm not that big of a Jimmy Eat World fan.
Right.
So I was like, man, okay, Third Eye Blind, they feel similar to me. Just the way, like the frontmen specifically, I guess, pull a really big connection of the way they write, the way they sing, the way they feel commanding. Even through audio, I can just tell something about them is like driving the ship. I was like, all right, straight up, 2 peas in a pod. So my new favorite controversial, hopefully, statement is Third Eye Blind over Jimmy Eat World. Take that, Jimmy Eat World fans. I like that kind of like, just people that can describe what's around them and somehow translate that really well into what's going on in their lives. But then they don't have to be so vague about how they're trying to talk about their lives that it's like, well, no matter who you are, this will relate to you in this way. It's like, no, I want it to hit hard because I know exactly what you were feeling in that moment. Like, you know, I don't know. Labeling's just difficult. Feel matters more. Your ear usually isn't lying to you if you think you can hear something out of it. Like, yeah. And I mean, it's funny when you can take, I guess, other worldly views and just apply them into other things like this. Like people say, believe in yourself with everything. You got to believe in yourself before other people even do. Like if you really have that dream, you really believe in something, like no one can tell you no. Yeah. Well, in that case, Third Eye Blind is emo. Thank you. You can't tell me otherwise. If the whole world says no, like I got it. The vision's right here. It's locked. I know it. Can't take it from me. It's ridiculous, but
awesome.
Yeah. So Pine Grove, you're also emo. I've got your back. Yeah. I guess this was all digressing from points of probably cool dudes fighting still to a point, because that's,
yeah, that's true. That's
in reality what, if I had to say I have an emo band, it would be that one. And I don't mean to say that, but that's just the one where like it's a feel, and I like just going for the feel. Yeah. There's a term I've heard off another podcast. He's like an emo focused podcast, and he would use it all the time when talking to people, but he'd describe it as like music that feels like it could like break at any minute, but it just doesn't. Or like it's like tension that feels like it's like about to snap at any given point and then just doesn't. Like it just kind of keeps you there. Yeah. And there was something about that I sort of understood while he was literally thinking of like 90s OG, like he's picturing like Piebald and like Sunny Day Real Estate type of emo and stuff like that. But it's just broader than that. It's kind of grown past all this sort of stuff. I love it. Emo shit is just stuff I relate to as a whole. Right. I was that kid that people would have called an emo kid, when you're younger, just because of the hair, this tight skinny jeans, wanted to wear bright colors and all that jazz. But yeah. So I don't know. It's that stemmed right deep into me.
So I know we asked this both times that we had technical difficulties. If you could give somebody advice who wants to get into creating music in any way, shape, or form, what would you say to them?
It's got to be decent advice, because 3 for 3 times the same answer comes to mind. Go do it. Like, do it. Start. Pick up an instrument. Start. You should have started yesterday, but don't feel bad about it. I don't want to. None of that. It's all positive. It's all encouragement. But go do it. Like, I've seen worse musicians than you, the listener, who's never done it before. I've seen worse than you live, and they've had the confidence on stage, and people bought that up because they had it and they sold it, and that's all it took. Like, yeah. It goes back to a lot of this stuff. It's feel more than it's skill sometimes. Like, I don't really want to go see an Eddie Van Halen shred in front of me, unless you're literally Eddie Van Halen, RIP. But like, that sort of, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I've seen these bands even recently where it's like, oh, I get it. You've got a guy who can sweep and do all this. So like you're writing a song waiting for the guitar solo. Like that was this band's purpose of writing a song, is so he can do the damn guitar solo. Right. So that's every song. And it's like, well, why don't you just get on stage, plug in your damn guitar, and just fucking solo for 2 straight hours, bro? Like, that's what you really want to do. It's what you're like, I don't know. I'm sick of it. I don't care. It's all skill based, and it's not very much feel in these cases that I'm thinking of. Yeah. So just, if you've really got something in you, like, go do it. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to say no, or they shouldn't. They don't deserve to say no to you. And yeah, it's just, you never know how many people could accept it, how it could change someone. Just even having one person tell you like, that was awesome, keep writing music, is like always enough to gas you up and just be like, yeah, I probably will never stop this. Like, that was incredible. Because that's how music feels to me, for all those people have that one song or the one band that she's like, I don't even know what I would do without this. Like, it's whatever type of music just revolves around everything. So
Yeah.
Just go create art, even if it's not music. Like, just get into art. That's the big thing. Like, it feels so good to be creative. It's so good for your mental health. It's just fantastic. And you can all do it. Even the worst drawing in the world could portray a really cool image or meaning if you just get out what you have onto paper, onto a song, write it. Just do it. Just start. That's all I can think. Whatever it is, start. Do it. Take that idea and make it a reality. Shia LaBeouf meme it, you know? Do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do them.
Sweet.
It's easy.
Awesome. Well, thanks for, again, third time, taking
Third
time
and
out of your
final
life
time.
to...
I'm retiring from the podcast. No.
Yeah.
With another reason. I'd always do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming over.
Yeah,
again.
no. Thanks for having me in.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
While we've all got our own
This is Jason Ogden from Penny Blacks, and you've been listening to the Pagan Place podcast.